is so different than other people. Like people have, like, first off, yes, I do more of my videos in the kitchen. I used to do them in the bathroom, but I felt like the lighting wasn't quite as good. Plus, the room is kind of small in there. And as weird as it might sound, I kind of just like to comb my hair out if I'm doing a live stream or anytime really in the kitchen because I have more room. It's like a nice open space. And the first thing I do is I don't like a lot of people have this full on washing their face routine, but I have good skin. I have very good skin, and like a lot of people say, "Oh, your skin looks really good." And you know what is my trick? I don't like technically wash my face. Like I just take a little bit of water and I rub my face down, but I don't use cleansers on my face, and I haven't for years. And actually, years ago, when I used to get acne, it was from using harsh cleansers. And a lot of people don't, they think that they need a lot of like face care stuff. But for me, recently I decided I probably might want to start wearing more sunblock again. But I also do like a tinted face cream. So I am going to try to incorporate more sunblock into my routine, which I have on and off over the years. Hi, how you doing? Right back. That's face wash. Okay, so I also just kind of use this, like this really, it has some tinted, it's like a tinted moisturizer. I mean, this one is SPF 21. This new one I got is SPF 50. I'm just getting ready. So I gave it a slightly different title because I don't know, sometimes people want a slightly different title. And then sometimes I take this face wash. It's like a tinted moisturizer. And I don't even, I don't know. I feel like I wear less of it now because if half of your face is covered in a mask, like, yeah, I'm going to work like usual because, that's what I do all the time, guys. I'm not some like exciting YouTuber. I mean, I think my life's exciting, but I'm not riding a $21,000 plane ticket ride, or I don't know what a typical YouTuber does. I guess like so. I take this BB cream, and I really like it. It's just the CoverGirl one, but this has been the best one I found. I feel like because it just kind of blends with my skin well, and this one's not even really like a BB cream. It's more like just a tinted face moisturizer. There used to be a tinted Neutrogena face moisturizer. Maybe I want to find that one too. Just using a mix of things. I'm not even sure. Like, I kind of don't want to put too much on my face. No, I didn't do my hair yet. It's still, I slept in this braid overnight. I need to redo it because I feel like it doesn't look organized. Although it's a nice braid, I just feel like it's from the night before, so it doesn't look clean enough. I feel like I need to redo it. So I just keep my hair in a braid, like, so literally on some days when I don't work, I have kept my hair in a braid for up to 2 days. And that's when long hair starts to be less time consuming than short hair because you can keep it in a braid for several days if you need to. Like you have the ability to do that. You just don't take your hair out of the braid. Like you leave it in. That's the trick. Yes, I'm redoing it. I wish I didn't have to because I kind of like the way this braid turned out yesterday, but it's not smooth enough. That's all. It needs to look smooth. Just like, but I really like how chunky this braid turned out on top. I want to feel like my hands are oiled up enough for undoing the braid. So I feel like sometimes just need more oil. So like some people have more oily scalps than others and everything, but if you look at the way people used to wash their hair compared to how they do it now, the more often you wash your hair, your scalp, your sebum is making more oil to like compensate because you're drying. It's just like you're drying out your scalp, so it's going into overdrive production to try and like create balance. And that's actually what sometimes leads to oily scalp and dandruff. Same with like acne. Like, I don't know. Everybody's got a really different take on this, but I found years ago the thing that helped me, not, and I've never had dandruff really, but I think like one thing I did notice back when I used to wash my hair a little bit more is it would make my scalp feel dry. But at the same time, like I never really had an overproduction of oiliness, but a lot of people say once they can train their scalp to wash their hair less, their hair is less oily. I know it sounds so counterintuitive, but it's also kind of the same thing with your face. Like people are putting like salicylic acid and all these things on their face, and that stuff can actually make you break out. Like it can irritate your skin, and your skin, same thing as with your hair, scalp, like it's creating more oil. It's going to overproduction, and also too, like some acne is unavoidable. Like I feel like nobody really talks about this, but nobody is like 100% acne free. It's just the skin industry wants you to believe that. So people will keep buying different creams, serums, and things for their face. But I just found, like for me, my face cleared up a lot when I just stopped washing my face with cleansers. And even as I got older, like I have a different take on these things. Like my mom's like, oh, like she started to think you needed to start doing these face peels and these face scrubs when you get to be a certain age. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do them. Like, because I thought about it, they would irritate my skin. And for my face, I just lightly wipe it off with water, like, and that's it. And I'm not gonna put soap on my face because I don't want acne. That's what would give me acne is putting soap on my face. Like maybe I'll do body wash on the rest of my body, but with my face, I just found I don't want acne, so I'm not gonna over. And even when I take a shower, I do use body wash, but I just love like rinsing with water more than anything else, really. That's interesting. We might do that. It's an interesting idea. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, do you need like 5,000 products for your skin and hair? I personally don't. My hair smells really nice this morning. I feel like the fewer products I use, the better it is. Like, and when it comes to skincare, water. Like my skincare, like everybody says, skincare is so important. And I feel like if I started doing all these things that people say are going to make their skin better, that would make my skin worse. But for a lot of us, like maybe some people are having really good reactions to various products, and they just, and I know a lot of people believe in products and washing their face. But it could just be my skin is completely different because I know my mom, she just swore by Neutrogena. She thought Neutrogena was so good for her skin and it cleared up her face. But when I used that, I broke out. Like every time I used different cleansers, I would try Neutrogena. I would try salicylic acids. But then, okay, the one thing that actually made me realize, and my sister forgets that she told me this now, but her skin was like really clear. And she said that her skin cleared up when she was pregnant, but she wasn't pregnant anymore. It was like her son was 2 years old at the time. And I said, like, what are you doing with your face? Because I was just like struggling with acne. She says now she doesn't remember telling me this, but I know she said it because she was doing it at the time. She goes, I'm just washing my face with water. Okay. So I thought, wow, just water. Okay. And this is so counterintuitive to our product laden society. But yeah, I haven't turned back. And I've washed my face with just water for over 13 years. Yeah, it works so well. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, like I feel like well, plant-based diet, I think eating more of a plant-based diet has been a big thing. And, you know, more fruits and veggies. Like eat your fruits and veggies. Like this banana's a little too green right now, but I'm gonna take it with me for lunch because I know it'll be nice and brown. Like it's finally getting brown. I love a brown banana. Um, yeah, eat your fruits and veggies. Eat plant-based proteins. Like eat a healthy diet. Like I've been eating these grapefruits off somebody's tree that they gave me locally, and grapefruit is like medicine. Like it just is like organic homegrown grapefruit. I feel like eating this grapefruit is better for my skin than any stupid like cleaner or cleansers on the market that they are going to tell me. Like I feel like eating a grapefruit. I'm maybe I'm not 100% holistic because I do use products, but I just find more natural things are better for you. You don't need all these things that they tell you that you must have in order to be healthy, you know? I'll see how I want to do it. I just kind of want to do it in a way that's going to be easy for my hair. What time is it? I have to be mindful of time. I need time. Finger this in too tight. I think I'm just going to do it in a way that's easy for me. It's all about what works for me, not, yeah. I just do the easy stuff. And they also kind of like doing the live stream because it's kind of like a mirror and people like to watch me do my hair. I'm just not going to do it exactly the way that you think. I'm just going to do it in a way that's conducive. Like, I'm going to do it in a real way, you see. I need to be super careful when I take out my hair, especially if the scrunchie was too tight, just so I'm not tangling up my hair. Take my fingers off of it. I like this dress I'm wearing, by the way. This dress is so like symbolic to me because it's a really beautiful dress, but I got it for only $5. It was originally like $50 at this little small mom and pop shop that went out of business because of COVID. And yeah, I got a good deal on it, and that's cool. And the lady seemed okay. She's like, "Well, I'm near retirement age, and I got 3 good years out of it, but man, COVID really." destroyed a lot of small businesses. You know, it's just so sad. Like, I felt bad for her. I mean, she was okay, but because she says she's near retirement age. But what about people who aren't? Walmart was allowed to be open those 3 months. The thing that made her have to go out of business was the mandatory 3 month closure. And yes, 2 or 3 months can destroy an economy. I don't know how people don't understand that concept. Like, there were people, okay, educated people, and they're like, how can 2 months of going out of work destroy the economy? You know why? One day of being out of work can destroy an economy. Okay, so the socialist utopias, they lie to you. Okay, they think, like, they say, well, everything should be distributed evenly and we should all have the same things, but it's never been like that in any society. It's not like that in China. Like I was telling you yesterday, I was thinking about this stuff in China. I feel bad for the people in China because there's a lot of educated, hardworking people that are living in basically like cramped conditions. Like, they did all the right stuff. They went to college. They worked hard. Um, some of them can't even live with their own children. Like, they have the one child policy, but because, like, cost of living is so expensive in China, unless you're part of the upwardly mobile in crowd. A very small fraction of the society, by the way. You don't get to live in all that new housing that's being created that's empty. Um, yeah, you do all the right things to try and advance your life. And then it turns out, oh, well, your child has to live in the country with your parents because they can't afford to live with you in the city. It's like horrible. Like, these people, they work so hard all their lives. So a few years back, there was like this scam that was caught where these Chinese women had came to the U.S. to have babies at this house, so their babies could become U.S. citizens, so they can move here. And people are like, "That scam's horrible. Why are people doing that?" Well, people were doing that because obviously they wanted to get out of China. Like, it's people wanted to leave. Okay, people say nowadays, well, things are so good in China. Well, okay, we talked to this person on a live stream, and some things might be improving in China, and for some people, yes, life is becoming better if you're part of the upwardly mobile social class. But there's a lot of people in China that are not part of that in crowd. So I just always like to point this out. Like, people keep saying socialism is going to make everything good for everybody and everything's going to be fair and equal. Well, is it really? Does it really work that way? And now you have Joe Biden, who's kind of crony capitalist, pretending like he's part of this socialist in crowd because, Kamala Harris has more left leaning politics. But you know what? Things about her, just to keep in mind, is she's not like some socialist. She's not out there for the common man. Like, she has worked in the, like, pseudo crony capitalist corporate world to some extent. Like, even being, in politics, she gets kickbacks from these corporations. She lives a very good lifestyle. She's not, I know she's going to say what you want to hear, and people are like, oh, like the young people of today. They will believe anything without researching it. Please research it. Like, okay, I saw a lot of people, they were getting mad at a natural vegan because I watch different vegan YouTubers, and they're like, oh my gosh, she, like, says that there should be somewhat of a free market economy, and she wasn't even as pro free market as I am, and they were saying she was wrong, and the government needs to get involved in the economy to ensure everybody has a fair shake. But is that really making the cost of live? Like, look, they keep saying here in California that that's what they're doing, that the Democratic Party is all about the people, right? They keep saying, we're all about the people. We care about the people. We want to pass more taxes. So this is what they keep saying. They'll even call you on the phone, like if you ever voted or participated in any kind of politics, to ask your opinion on surveys about raising taxes. Like, are you in favor of raising this? Like, that's what they talk about all the time. Like, they're always talking about more taxes that they can raise on us. And then because of regulation, housing costs are rising all the time. Incomes don't keep up. Even if you make a mandatory minimum wage hike, which, by the way, if you do that, I know everybody's like, well, employers should be paying everybody more. Well, that's going to give them incentive to employ fewer people, especially if they're a smaller business. There are already jobs where you can make $15 an hour. It's many warehouses, you can work at many different warehouses where you will make 15 plus more per hour. It's hard work, but if you don't have the college education and you want to make more than $15 an hour, you can do that here in Southern California any day of the week that you want. Like, there's plenty of places that you could work right now, I could tell you, like with shipping, but then you're not going to be part of the stay-at-home privilege crowd. Like, you're not going to be able to sit at home and order things, okay, with the magic button. You're going to have to go out and be part of the supply chain. But you could technically make between $19 and $23 an hour working in one of the corporate warehouses. You could do that if you so desire. Like, these jobs are out there, right? I'm not saying that they're good jobs, but they exist. I mean, I kind of don't know if this is good the way that things are going. Like, I have my concerns, but anyhow, it's just interesting because everybody's like, yes, the future is better if we do this, this, and this. But I don't know about that. I don't know about that. It's what it is. We can't really change the trajectory of the future, but people that are left-leaning really are not pro-free market economy. They don't really want small businesses to thrive. They can say that they do, but they will pass tax codes and agendas that will put these businesses out of business. They will create mandatory regulations that allow a corporation like Walmart to remain open, because Walmart can say, well, we have food, we're essential. Lowe's can say we're essential. A tire place can be essential, but a clothing shop, they don't have the corporate lawyers to advocate for them to declare that they're essential, even though they could be doing everything right, all the sanitation things that Walmart was doing, but it didn't matter. They had to close. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of done with the whole political side of it, because it's so, paying more taxes when your taxes are not being allocated correctly in the first place makes no sense to me. I can see why a lot of people leave California, but there is no socialist utopia. The people that keep saying socialism will save the world, well, it didn't in the 1960s, did it? Did LBJ's fight against poverty like elevate people out of poverty? Did it? No. I mean, all these schemes where they keep saying they're going to elevate people out of poverty, to me, it's just like a fallacy, because look, maybe it's because the more industrialized a society becomes, there's just fewer opportunities. I think it's just, some of it is the fact that when America was more of a rural nation, there was more opportunity. We were a new country. Like this, I don't know. Well, because I'm getting ready for work and I'm not wrapping my hair on my face. That's not the name of the live stream. It's not called "Wrap Your Hair on Your Face." I know, like, a lot of long-haired guys have different opinions, and look, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm me, and I do long hair my way every day, and if you want to be here, you can. If you don't, I don't know, whatever, on a stick, right? I advocate for myself these days, and I always have. I'm just like, you can be here if you want to be here. If you don't like it, I can go and tell you on a stick. I'm not here to, like, cater to everybody. I'm here to share what I'm doing. So anyhow, that's what I was saying. Yeah. Um. So I just, when I listen to a lot of, just because I listen to a lot of different viewpoints and opinions, and I just look at and I read about what's happening in the world. I like to be aware of things. I don't want to just believe something because they keep telling us this is the new thing. But like I said yesterday, these things go in cycles, and there's no utopian socialist society. There are always people at the top that benefit, and hey, it would be great to be at the top. I'm sure, like, everybody wants that, but not everybody's going to be at the top. In every society, there are people that have common jobs. But in America, up until like I would say at least 20 years ago at least, you could, I mean, you might not be rich, but you could have a adequate standard of living. You could move to a location where there were jobs, and even today, if you want to, you can get a job. Like a lot of people are saying, there's no jobs out there. It's just, do you want to do the job? Like, look, there's a lot of privilege in stay-at-home orders because a lot of people didn't stay at home, so you could stay at home. Like, so people could Zoom. Like, yeah, there were people that were working, like, packages don't magically show up at your doorstep. I'm just saying there are jobs out there for people. So if you're unemployed, you can find work. It might just not be the work you want to do. You know what I'm saying? I commend people who do those jobs. Do I think this is the best economy ever? No. Is it the way things are going? Probably, because we're becoming a mechanized world. Will there come a time when many people will not be able to work anymore due to mechanization? Yes. Should universal basic income be a thing? Of course. Yes, universal basic income would probably be a great thing because I feel like it's going to get to a point when more and more jobs will be mechanized. Like even education, maybe. Like right now, with people doing online education and computers becoming more sophisticated, maybe it will get to a point that people can have like some sort of app, I don't know, or some sort of program where they can just have a virtual teacher. That could become a thing, like a virtual teacher. I mean, right now you could kind of do it in a way because Google is pretty darn amazing. Like, you can go on Google and ask it pretty much anything you want, and you're going to find something, resources. I mean, you need to vet a lot of the resources, but you'll be able to find some accurate things in searches. So many jobs are going to become more automated. And the question is, like, they always said that was such a sci-fi thing when I was younger. They said the whole idea that, oh, robots will take all our jobs, but it kind of happened, and to some extent, it's starting to happen, not completely yet. I mean, I don't think everything could be automated, but by 2050, many more jobs will be automated than are now. So more people will be out of work, unless, I don't know, you probably can't automate everything. It's interesting though. But some people are still going to want old-fashioned education, I suppose. I mean, I don't think everybody's going to want to interface with computers all the time. And then you might have some backlash too, where no, I would never perm my hair. This is the channel about natural hair care. We don't talk perms around here, especially since I have wavy hair. I'm kind of the anti-perm, anti-bleaching, anti-chemical hair dye, or anti-synthetic hair stuff on this channel. Like we're pro natural, anti-chemical, ranting against chemicals. I hate salons, honestly. Yeah. So no. Isn't that like I have to be strong cookie? I'm just like, yeah, I want my opinion. Like because for years, like all those opinions were rammed down my throat. So I don't know, like yeah, I know people are just casually asking. I should probably be kinder about it. That probably seems kind of harsh, but I don't like why? Why would anybody put chemical on their hair when they could just put their hair in a braid or curl their hair and get some wave to their hair? You don't need to put a perm on your hair. Like my hair is wavy naturally. Why would I do anything to my hair? I love my hair texture. I love my hair color. I kind of got in a discussion with somebody about this on another channel because there's this girl, I thought her hair was really beautiful, okay? She has dark, beautiful hair. And she likes to bleach it. And I just didn't understand like why, because I thought honestly, like maybe I just have my opinion is in the minority, and I get a lot of people want to experiment with their looks. But here's another thing too. This is my thought on this. We have synthetic wigs nowadays. Why do you even need to bleach your own hair? Can't you just buy a wig? Like, why would you damage your own natural hair just to do something? I don't know. Why don't you just buy a few synthetic wigs if you want to try different looks? That's kind of my take on it. I mean, I don't even do that. I'm not into lots of different types of looks personally. Thank you. I like people that are just more into. So I guess maybe another reason that I'm into natural looks is because I grew up in just this environment where my parents came of age in the 70s. They were like in not exactly hippies, but back then, like people just had like it was more acceptable just to have this natural look to you, and like it wasn't all about that synthetic look. And my mom wasn't a salon goer. We didn't go to salons. Like I never went to a salon until I was an adult, and I went a few times because of social pressure, but like I ended up really hating it because it wasn't me. And I feel like salon, like I don't want to be anti-salon. If you're in the salon industry and that makes you happy, that's great. But my channel's not about salons. Like I don't feel you even need a salon to do any kind of self-care. Like I think you can figure out how to do things with your own hair. I'm all about DIY, even though I don't like do DIY videos as much as other people. Like I have a few. I've done my henna hair things, so I actually do some DIYs. I guess I just need to format them differently so people understand exactly what I'm sharing on my channel. So I share some DIY. It's just not exactly in the modality that, like, some people have a very edited DIY, but I actually do have a few edited henna videos. Like I've done that, and I've shown different combing techniques and stuff like that. Yeah, done that, and I'm gonna do. Here's a sneak preview of something I'm gonna do because someone told me about it. That has very long hair, like floor length hair, and she has a lot of good like comments on the channel. Her name is Saxon. She comes here a lot. She's from Sweden. She has some really good comments. So she was telling me something about rinsing your hair with beer, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. She said it's really good for your hair, so I started looking into it, and it's actually a thing, and people do it. And I don't even really drink beer, but now I'm like, yesterday I was intrigued because there's this shop that has like all these like craft beer, but they're kind of expensive for one beer. I think I can go to the supermarket and buy a beer, and I'm gonna try and buy a nice one to like do a hair rinse. So that's something I'm gonna try. And apparently it's kind of big. Like, so I didn't realize how big that was. And I was like, it's a DIY thing, so I'm gonna try that. And it doesn't make your hair smell like beer. It's supposed to just like be very neutralizing, very nice for your hair. So, and make your hair shiny. So I'm excited to try it out. So that's gonna be something I'm gonna do as an edited video coming up. Like, I liked her idea. I was like, I'm gonna try that. That's intriguing. So, sneak preview. If you want to see me rinse my hair with beer, I'm not gonna drink the beer. I'm just gonna rinse it. You know, try something new. Did we get blurry again? I love how smooth my hair is feeling lately. Just so smooth, though. I have to say, like, some more water in. smooth it down some more. Hi. Is your name Big Boss? I like that. Hi, Big Boss. Well, I'm not doing hair brushing in the face today, but I like your name. Very cool. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I heard the birds outside. I love the birdies. I can hear the birds tweeting in that tree outside of my house every morning. I just love it. I love when I'm walking, I can hear birds. My favorite thing. I love birds so much. As soon as I feel like my hair is smoothed out enough, because I like to kind of like work out, like, even though you keep your hair in a braid, it gets less tangles, but I still feel like it's not perfect. I mean, nothing's 100% precise. Like, I still feel some tangles in my hair, so I don't want tangles in my hair. So the whole point is, like, I don't feel like I need to do a super crazy brushing. Like, what was weird? Okay, I have to talk about this. This was something that I don't think I could ever do. Did you know there's people in Cirque du Soleil that hang by their hair? I'm like, oh my God. Like, this one woman, her whole act, and she said she strengthened her hair follicles. She must have some pretty darn strong hair follicles. She hangs from her hair and her scalp in the Cirque du Soleil act, and this is a thing. And there was a video on it, and I was like watching because I was kind of intrigued. It's like, wow, like, and I just don't think that's something I would want to do. But she's an acrobatic person, so I guess it was just a new challenge for her. And she just was talking about it like it was just another part of her body, like hanging from your arms. Yeah, hanging from your scalp. No biggie. Like, she was just very calm about it. I'm like, she's very calm and she has a very calming sense about her. But I was just like, wow, I had never seen anything like that. But what really impressed me was just how calm and nonchalant she was about it. I was like, many of us were like, ow, like they were saying in the comments, if you take out a hair tie the wrong way, and she's hanging by her hair in a circus act. I'm like, it's pretty interesting. You could just Google or go on YouTube and type in hanging by your hair Cirque du Soleil act. It was an interesting video. I was like, I kind of like to talk about different things because, since I am a hair channel, the more you watch something or the more you post about a certain topic, those are the things recommended to you. So I think I might just start sharing some things that I see on my feed. So one thing I did think was really interesting was that video. That was one. And okay, let's talk more hair news. There was another video. Um, I think it was Barcroft. It was about, they have different long hair people that they do like something called Shake the Look. And they have super long hair. And one of them I just thought was really interesting. She's an artist in England. And I really liked her concept. Like, she talked about how she has really beautiful hair, by the way. And I don't even think she washes her hair, like, at all. Like, she just combs out her hair. It was interesting, but her hair is really pretty. And she's an artist. And that was another video I had watched recently. I was kind of impressed. I was like, her art was really good. I think she's actually done a couple of real Rapunzel videos that were more interesting, like ones that I thought were more interesting. It's just her in her art studio, and I'm kind of liking that. Like, people who, like, I like the artistic side of long hair. And by the way, Oh, there is a book I found. It's so interesting. I might share it on here. It's just about the history of long hair. Okay. In history. And I've been reading, like, it's about, and it starts out showing long hair in different portraits and just about how women wore their hair in Renaissance Italy. This is the part I'm at right now, but it's very fascinating. It's basically, I need an even better book on the history of long hair. I think one that I can own myself, really. I think that might be fun. I might want to invest in a book like that one of these days. I really do, because I'm a historian. I'm not a historian, but I have a BA in history, a master's in education. I'm not like officially a historian, but I find I have an interest in the history of things. And the history of hair has kind of become more on my radar. Like over the years, just having an interest in long hair, it is something that I find fascinating. And it was just talking about how women would put their hair in these hair bags, like these bags with they'd have styles where they stuff their hair in a bag with kind of a headband, and it's pretty fascinating. They were talking about the men's hairstyles, and the book is intriguing, but I don't know. I want to find an even larger illustrated book on the history of hair. I think that with text, of course, a little bit of everything, because I want a little bit of everything in the book. But I want to have to buy my own book about the history of hair, I think, just so I can keep it and have it as a reference. I have so many books, but I find like when you can have a lot of books, and that's good because they're in your library. But sometimes you still want another book, like a more specific book. Like when you become more interested in a topic, you just want to have a book that you can consult. And that's kind of my feeling on that. But I have a lot of books. I'll just tell you that I have a whole closet full of books. A lots of books. And I gave a lot of them away too, because I also have advanced copy books, which we get. Advanced copies are just like things they send publishers and libraries and things. And I used to have a lot of prepubs. I still have a lot of prepubs, but prepubs are kind of weird because sometimes they have grammar issues and stuff because it's the pre-publication. They're pretty funny sometimes. Other times it's kind of like getting a sneak peek at a book before it comes out. I used to really read a lot of prepubs, and there are some good ones out there, but I might have read a little bit less fiction over the last few years because what was it that turned me off about historical fiction? I mean, there's still a lot of really good historical fiction out there, but what was beginning to bother me about historical fiction was even if it was an author I really liked, I just didn't really care for how, okay, because there needed to be so many genres of historical fiction, that sometimes there would be a real establishment. And they would say at the end of the book, oh, this was a real establishment, but they had the fictional characters working there because that would make the storyline make more sense. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really like that kind of historical fiction anymore. I'll tell you the historical fiction I really love. You want me to curtsy for you? Hello. Hello. We're doing a curtsy. And then we're doing a curtsy like this. Curtsy like that, okay? Isn't that cool? That looks really nice, by the way, I think. I think that's what you guys like anyway. You like the long hair action more than me just prattling on. So I'm gonna prattle on a little bit more anyway about historical fiction. So yeah, I like historical fiction where you have the actual people, and it might be a hypothesis about what happened to them, but it's the actual characters. Like my friend Aya wrote a book that was really interesting called Theodosia and the Pirates. And Jean Lafitte's not a pirate. He's actually a privateer. It's very fascinating. It's actual real history of like what happens to the United States around the War of 1812 and the Battle of New Orleans. Like it might not be exactly what happened to Theodosia, but she researched this book and she figured out what could have happened to her. And it was an interesting theory, okay? Like I like the historical theory. It's actually a real person, but it was funny. Like some people got mad at her, like in her book, because they're like they didn't think that should happen to Theodosia because they liked the other theory, like there's another theory about what happened to her, which wasn't even true, by the way, because we don't know. The other theory is that she was made to walk the plank and that she died at sea, but we have no substantiated evidence that's what happened to her. If you love like true crime, like what happened to someone, Theodosia Bird just disappeared, okay? There's no trace of what happened to her. So I kind of like Aya's idea that she went on to marry Jean Lafitte more than she died at sea. Like, but a lot of like because I don't have a horse in this race, but some people are just so pre-Theodosia, they rather would have liked to have seen her die at sea than marry a privateer, which I think is weird. Like, what? What? Really? But if you're not like, if you don't have some weird hang up about Theodosia Burr, you might actually enjoy her book. Like, it's more interesting, like, than Hamilton. I haven't wanted to watch Hamilton really because I'm like, not that interested. But her book's more interesting. Now, my favorite book that she wrote was My Our Lady of Kaifeng. I actually really love that one. But if you're interested in American history, her book's pretty good. And there's other historical fiction writers I've just really liked. I really liked Lisa C. She's pretty good too. I just kind of was beginning to lose interest in some of her more recent books, but I feel like some like one that she wrote that was really good that I really, really liked was China Dolls. Oh gosh, that one was fun. And I loved how she treated the topic of how Asian Americans were, because finally people are finally beginning to realize this is a thing. Like somebody said something sort of erroneous to me. They said, well, people are being racist against Asians now because of Donald Trump. But no, it did not start with Donald Trump. People have been racist against Asian Americans since Asian Americans have come to America, okay? There's been a lot of racism, and it had nothing, like, I'm not saying Donald Trump is, like, the epitome poster child of, like, racial equality, because he says some really problematic things, like, he's kind of a problem. But no, like, there was a lot of racism towards Asians, like, people didn't want them to be U.S. citizens, and that had nothing to do with Donald Trump, okay? He didn't write U.S. Immigration policy in years before he was born, like, contrive much. Like, you can hate Donald Trump, but sometimes you just start to sound like a wackadoodle if you think all racism in this country towards one ethnic group can be attributed to one politician you didn't like, who wasn't even a politician. Like, he's gone now anyway. So, no. All racism towards Asians didn't start with Donald Trump. He does like feed the fire, okay? I'm not gonna give him a free pass because I don't like things he said about Chinese people and that China is gross, okay? I'm not gonna give him a free pass on that. But Lisa C talked about the racism against Asians because in the 1930s and 40s, just like African Americans weren't really allowed to have mainstream roles in movies. And in acting and entertaining, neither were Asians. So they would have their own like acting circuits. And there's this one that Lisa C, she called it like the chop suey circuit, where like Chinese Americans would have their own acts, like their own vaudeville type acts, dancing acts, and they would go around the country. And China Dolls is just a story about three women who are, part of this dancing act. And one of them's a younger woman who runs away from home. Another one actually is very interesting is she's Japanese American, but she conceals her identity as Chinese to try and pass. And then during the war, like she's outed for being Japanese American. It's kind of sad. She's sent to one of the camps, but yeah, there's always been a lot of racism against Asians in this country. Lisa C has written about it very well. I like her novels, like her historical novels. There's quite a few novels I like that are historical fiction. I'd kind of have to go through them to have better recommendations. I can't just think about it off the bat. I don't want to recommend something without kind of reviewing it, and because there were books I liked at the time, but then I go back and I'm like, do I really like it? Like after I've thought about it. because sometimes a book will read well, but then I kind of look into the history behind it afterwards, and I'm like, well, they had some issues with his. So maybe at the end of the day, don't expect historical fiction to be history. But I guess the thing about the genre that started to turn me off was how there was more and more of it, and how contrived it's becoming, and it's just acceptable, and it ends up on the New York bestsellers list. And I don't think all books on that list are good books. There was one book that everybody just thought was such a good book that was on that, like The Girl on the Train or something, and I read the first chapter and I was not impressed. But it's like once a book ends up on that list, you can't have a negative opinion towards it. Like there's just something wrong with you if you're not into that book. So it just made me think, no, I want to read things I want to read. When I read something, it's going to be something that adds value to my interests in my life, not just something that's on a bestsellers list. I have read things that were on the bestsellers list before. I just feel less so inclined to do so these days because I'm like, usually those aren't books that I used to read a lot, okay? Like when I tell you that I read, my whole closet's filled with books, top to bottom. I gave away a lot of books. I have a lot of books. I have a book collection that's quite expensive. And I'm not a snob about what kind of books they are. Like, I know some people, I guess this is the thing, like, it has to be a hardback book. No, I have pre-pubs in my pre-publications, and I have, like, paperbacks, and I have hardbacks, and I have secondhand books. I like books. I don't feel like they all have to be a certain kind of book. It's funny, though, that used to be a thing, and now and then it went to the thing that, oh, all your books need to be digitized. And some people started giving all their books away because all their books had to be on a device. It's just weird. Like, if you start acting like all your books have to be a certain way, I'm just like, okay. Longest time in record, I kept my hair down. I don't do it recently anymore. I did it for like 2 days, like 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? About 2 years ago, almost. No, a year and a half. Year and a half ago. I kept my hair loose for 2 days around my birthday because I went to go visit my family. And my hair, I should have brushed my hair, but it just felt so kind of disheveled. Like I didn't like the way it looked. But my hair is wavy, so I can kind of tousle it up. But I just didn't feel like it looked its best. And I just really like my hair to look its best. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see all the different people commenting, and it's nice to read your comments. So yeah, I was an avid reader for years. I still read. I was beginning to question myself recently, like, why am I not reading lots of books? Like some people say you should read lots and lots and lots of books. Like it's a contest to see how many books you read. But I began to feel differently about that. Okay, because reading's a really good thing, but I want to be selective about what I read. I don't want to just read X number of books, like to say I read, like, it's kind of like the book Olympics or something, like for adults, like kind of like the reading Olympics, but adults will have these contests to say I read X number of books in 1 year. But were these all good books? Like I've become so much more selective. Like when I was younger, I used to think, okay, look, I work with books. I can talk about books. This is something I know. Books are my great chili jam. Like every day I work with books. I'll talk about books. So when I was younger, I used to believe I had to read a book from start to finish, every single word, every single paragraph, that I needed to know it by heart, like really, really understand that book. Like I felt like I owed it, like that was what I felt like. I felt like I owed the person who wrote the book that, to try and digest their book that way. Like I really, truly believe that. So sometimes I would just suffer through a book that was not good. But I finally realized at one time, and somebody pointed this out, there's no reason to soldier on with some books. Some books are bad for you. It doesn't mean they're not good for someone else. Like there might be someone in the world that loves that book, and that book is a wonderful book for them. but for you, it's not. And you need to read things that appeal to you. And I just began to realize over time, if I like to read articles more now, like lately, or like just history texts. And I was a history major, so just more in my free time, like I was reading more like historical fiction. It was more like a fun thing to do, like just to see what. Also, too, I like to talk about the books, so I could kind of recommend things to people. And at that time, I was finding a lot of really good books. I'd be like, "Oh, this book, like Green Island." Actually, Green Island was a very interesting book about what happens in Taiwan during, the years of the U.S. having a military base there, and then, after the Civil War in China, like how, the Chinese nationalists had to flee there. But it was basically about how in in Taiwan, there was limited freedom of speech because you basically couldn't criticize the government in control. And there was a story about a woman, she thought everything was perfect growing up in Taiwan, but then she started to realize, oh, there's some issues with freedom of speech. And she marries a Taiwanese man, but they move to the US, and he criticizes the government, like when he's in the US, but when they go back to visit their family in Taiwan, they're kind of detained and questioned because of, basically the Taiwanese government had a problem with him saying anything. And it wasn't like he was pro-China, he just was questioning like certain policies in Taiwan. And it was just a very interesting book. It was Green Island. I remember that one. The Illegal, that was an interesting book. That's not even historical fiction. It's just like, it's about this fictional world based on actual events about a man who's basically has an illegal status. He doesn't have a documented status, but he's just a very good runner, and he ends up in this running contest. That is a fascinating book too. There's some really interesting books out there. Have been some really good books I read, like Celestine Viate. Oh my gosh, I love her books. I love her books, okay? Her books are so good. Like, she wasn't historical fiction, but she wrote about this Tahitian housekeeper. Her name was Matarina, but she also was just a very hard working woman who was witty. Like, she would get off the bus to go to work, and there'd be these guys just sitting by the side of the road in Papeete, their capital city, and they'd just be sitting there, like, looking around. And she would say just these witty things to them, like, "What do you think? A job's going to fall from the sky? Go to work." Like, she would tell these guys they're doing nothing, and here she's off to work, and these guys are just hanging out. They're like, oh, like, the responses to her were so funny. And her books were hilarious. Celestine Viate, and later the character Matarina becomes like a talk radio host, which makes so much sense because she loves to talk and she loves to give advice. And they have this expression. I guess this is probably something that they say in Tahiti, but it's kind of true everywhere. They said, "I heard it on the coconut radio." And the coconut radio is basically gossip. Like, if you tell somebody something, like, it's going to get around. Oh, those books were so good. Celestine Viate. If you're looking for something interesting to read, Matarina, Breadfruit, Tiare and Bloom. Oh my gosh. I think Tiare and Bloom was my favorite because her husband redeems himself in that book. Because in earlier books, he's like a young guy and he's not very ambitious. And Matarina's the one that has to kind of make sure he doesn't waste his paycheck at the pub. Like, she'll come to pick up his paycheck on Friday night and bring it home so he doesn't drink it away. And she's the working one. Like, she's just more the serious one in the relationship. But the thing that redeems him is when their son has a child. So his people in Tahiti, they're considered French citizens. They often go to France to do their military service. Like, and her son was conscripted. I think they have something like conscription. It's been a while since I read it, but he was in the military. We'll just put it that way. So he's in France, and he ends up having a relationship with a Tahitian woman while he's in France, but they're not like smitten with each other. They're not in love with each other. So basically, she ends up having a child with him, and he's still in the military, but she comes back to Tahiti because she was in France for some reason too, and she tells Madarina and Pito, the husband, that this is your grandchild, and do you want to raise it? Because she basically doesn't want to be a mother, so she gives them the child. And at first they're hesitant about it, but then they decide to raise the child. But it's so interesting because this time around, it's not Pito who's raising the child. It's not Madarina who's like the grandmother raising the child by herself. It's Pito, the father. He's like the grandfather. He's like, this is going to be my child, and he's never really had an interest in church, but he's like, I'm going to go to my priest, and we're gonna baptize her in my Catholic church. It's just funny, like it's like his redemption story. Oh my gosh, like Pito is in his 40s and he finally redeems himself. I love his redemption story. So like he is everything to Tiari, the little girl. Like it's such a cute story. And that one is so, oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. Like I love Celestine Viate's novels. Like she's she was really popular a few years back, but yeah, books are good. Oh, when I start talking about good books I read, like I feel fire. Like I get excited. I need to read more often, I think. Yeah, I kind of miss reading. I'm like, you know what? I need to read more. But I also need to get on my way. Books are cool. I love books. But be selective about what you read. Don't just read anything. That's all I'm going to say about that. Have a nice day.